The Galactic Council chamber sat high above the planet Varath Prime, a structure built from materials that bent light itself. The walls did not exist in any normal sense. They were pure force shaped into the illusion of walls. Inside that space, 173 species gathered to cast their judgment. Earth would not survive the day. Ambassador Victoria Martinez sat in the human seat, a position that had taken humanity 50 years to earn. Her hands rested flat on the table in front of her. She did not move them. She did not fidget. She simply waited while the final votes registered on the crystalline display above the chamber. The count reached 173. All of them had voted the same way. The vote was unanimous. Earth would be banished from the Galactic Council and all its protections. All its trade rights, all its resources would be cut off. Humanity would be removed from the interstellar community effective immediately. Victoria did not react. Her face remained still. Her jaw did not clench. Her eyes did not water. She had come here prepared for this result, though she had hoped it would be different. Now it was not hope. It was fact. The Kelthian delegate spoke first, as was custom. His voice carried the weight of authority across the chamber. This council has made its decision. Earth has proven too unstable, too violent, too unpredictable for peaceful coexistence with the greater galactic community. We cannot risk the stability of 70,000 worlds by allowing a Death World species to remain within our ranks. A Death World species. That was how they called humanity. It was not said with respect. It was said with fear and disgust mixed together. The Vethian delegate added his voice next. The Zarkan conflict 3 cycles ago. The border disputes near the Outer Rim. The aggressive expansion of human trade routes without proper council approval. These are not the actions of a peaceful people. These are the actions of predators. Other delegates simply nodded. They did not speak further. The vote was done. The discussion was finished. There was nothing left but to watch humanity fall. Victoria stood slowly. Every eye in the chamber moved to her. 173 species watched as she gathered her documents. She had only a few. Humans did not bring much when they came to argue their case. They had brought facts instead. Facts did not help them now. I will inform Commander Hayes, Victoria said. Her voice was calm and hard. Earth will comply with the Council's decision. She walked from the chamber without waiting for a response. Behind her, the Kelthian delegate made a soft sound that might have been satisfaction. The transport ship that carried Victoria back to Earth took 3 days. She spent all 3 days in silence, staring out at the stars. Earth was out there somewhere in that vast darkness. A blue marble spinning in the void. A world that had fought its way into the galaxy, only to be cast back out. Commander Daniel Hayes waited for her in the receiving station above. Earth. He stood with his hands behind his back, looking down at the planet below. When Victoria entered the room, he did not turn around immediately. He took one more moment to look at his world. Then he turned. They voted, Victoria said. She did not say yes or no. She did not need to. Hayes nodded. He had known this would happen. Deep in his bones, he had known. The galaxy had always been afraid of humanity. Even when they smiled and offered trade agreements and signed peace treaties, the fear was there. Humans were too hungry, too adaptable, too willing to fight for what they wanted. They had survived a death world, and that made them different from the other species who had evolved on safe, gentle planets. How many voted against us? Hayes asked. None, Victoria said. The vote was unanimous. Hayes turned back to the window. He watched Earth rotate slowly below them. On that world, 6 billion humans were going about their lives. They were building things. They were creating things. They were loving their families and working their jobs and dreaming their dreams. None of them knew yet that everything had changed. "I will draft a response," Hayes said. "We will accept the decision with grace." "With grace?" Victoria's voice carried disbelief. "Daniel, they are casting us out. They are treating us like plague carriers." "That is exactly why we must respond with grace," Hayes said. He turned to face her fully now. His eyes were clear and cold. "If we respond with anger, we prove them right. If we respond with desperation, we prove them right. But if we respond by accepting this decision without complaint, by following every rule they set for our removal, by leaving with our heads held high and our honor intact, then we do something they do not expect." "What is that?" Victoria asked. "We make them question whether they made a mistake," Hayes said. "And we give Earth something stronger than the Council ever could. We give humanity a reason to believe in itself." He moved to the communication station and began typing. The message would be brief. Earth would accept the banishment. There would be no appeal. There would be no negotiation. Humanity would withdraw from the galactic community, and Earth would prepare for independence. Every nation would be mobilized. Every resource would be converted. Earth would not just survive without the Council. Earth would thrive. The message was sent within the hour. On Earth, the news spread across every continent. The reaction was not panic. It was not fear. It was something deeper and stranger. Humans began to move with purpose. They understood, in some basic way that lived in their bones, that they had been given a test. The galaxy had rejected them. And now they would show why that rejection was short-sighted. In the cities, in the countryside, in the orbital stations and the lunar base, and the distant research colonies on Mars, humanity felt something ignite inside themselves. Not anger, not despair. Something older than both of those things. The will to survive. The will to prove that they belonged among the stars, whether the galaxy wanted them to or not. President Marcus Cross stood in the United Nations building in Geneva, the same place where human leaders had gathered for 100 years to decide the fate of their world. Now he stood there to tell them how to leave, how to walk away from the one thing that had united humanity for the first time in history. The council seat had been more than just a political position. It had been proof that humanity belonged in the galaxy. Now that proof was being revoked. The assembly hall filled with representatives from every nation on Earth. Over 200 countries had sent their best people. The ambassadors, the generals, the scientists, the economists, and the political leaders all sat in their designated places. The cameras were running. Every human on Earth could see this moment. Every human on Earth would know what came next. Marcus did not use a podium. He stood in the center of the chamber and spoke directly to the people looking at him. "The Galactic Council has made their choice," Marcus said. His voice was steady. It did not shake. "Earth is no longer welcome in their community. We are too dangerous. We are too unpredictable. We are too much of a threat to their comfortable way of life." He paused. He let those words settle into the minds of everyone listening. "We could spend the next year filing appeals. We could hire lawyers from 100 different species. We could hire diplomats and negotiators and spin doctors to try to convince the council to change their minds. But that is not what we will do." The room was completely silent now. "We will leave," Marcus said. "We will leave with our heads held high. We will dismantle our seat at the council ourselves. We will organize our own transportation. We will marshal our own resources. We will show that council and every species that voted against us that Earth does not beg. Earth does not break. Earth builds." As Marcus spoke, his words were being heard in every corner of the planet. In Tokyo and New York and London and New Delhi and Sao Paulo and Lagos. In small villages and large cities. In orbital stations and lunar bases. in the deep underwater research centers and the Antarctic stations. All of humanity was listening. The mandate came down from the assembly within hours. Every nation would contribute. Every resource would be mobilized. Earth would not just leave the galactic community. Earth would leave it behind. On the lunar base, engineer Grace Patterson received her new orders. She was to dismantle the Council's communication array. This was not a small job. The array had taken 5 years to build. It connected Earth to 70,000 star systems. It was the physical symbol of Earth's integration into galactic society. Grace called her team together in the control room. There were 12 of them. All of them had trained for years to maintain this equipment. Now they were being asked to destroy it. "We are not destroying anything," Grace told them. "We are removing it. Clean removal. No damage, no shortcuts. We document everything. We archive everything. We prepare every piece for transport. Is that clear?" Her team nodded. They understood. This was not vandalism. This was not spite. This was a methodical, professional dismantling of the symbol of Earth's place in the galactic community. If they did this right, they would show the galaxy that humanity could be trusted to leave with honor. The work began immediately. Each piece of the array was carefully disconnected. Each piece was tested to ensure it still worked. Each piece was documented with photographs and technical specifications. The work took 3 weeks. The array that had taken 5 years to build came apart in 21 days under Grace's careful direction. In orbit, the supply ship construction accelerated. Humans had always been good at building. Now they built with furious purpose. The first generation of independent Earth vessels began to take shape. These were not Council technology. These were human technology. Older, perhaps. Less efficient, maybe. But they were theirs. On Mars, the colony director named Kevin Song looked at the red landscape and made a choice. Mars would not cut off from Earth. Mars would become even more essential to Earth's survival. He began redirecting resources. Food production was increased. Water extraction facilities were expanded. The research laboratories that had been focused on pure science were retooled to focus on survival technology. The message came down from Earth. Every colony, every station, every outpost was to become more self-sufficient. Humanity was not just leaving the Council. Humanity was preparing to stand alone. Lauren Cross, the President's daughter, worked in the Deep Space Navigation Center. Her team was building new star maps. The Council had always provided the navigation data. Now Earth would have to map the stars themselves. It was a massive undertaking. It would take years. Do we have years? She asked her supervisor, an old astronomer named David Reeves. "We will make time," David said. "We always do." Throughout all of this preparation, something was happening to humanity that the Galactic Council did not expect. They thought rejection would break humans. They thought humans would collapse into despair or rage. Instead, humans responded with something far more dangerous. Humans responded with purpose. In every nation, in every city, in every workplace, humans began to work together. The old divisions that had plagued humanity for centuries suddenly seemed less important. The Council had rejected all of humanity. Not just one nation, or one race, or one culture. All of humanity. And so all of humanity began to respond as one. The factories that made weapons started making spacecraft. The agricultural zones that had fed only local populations began increasing yield for export to orbital stations. The scientific institutions that had focused on narrow research began sharing information freely with each other. Banks that had competed for centuries began pooling resources for the common goal. Humanity was not unified by love or ideology. Humanity was unified by the simple, clear reality that they had been cast out, and they would not fall. 3 months after the Council vote, the first human-independent vessel launched from Earth orbit. It was a small ship, barely 200 meters long, but it was theirs. It carried no Council technology. It was built from human parts and human ingenuity and human determination. Commander Daniel Hayes watched it launch from the observation deck. Ambassador Victoria Martinez stood beside him. "They do not understand what they have done," Victoria said. "By casting us out, they may have just freed us." Hayes smiled. It was a hard smile, but it was real. "They will understand," he said. "Soon enough, they will understand." The sky above Earth filled with ships. Ship after ship, built by human hands, launched into the void. The galactic community watched and waited to see what the Deathworlders would do next. They did not expect the answer. They could not predict it. They did not know that rejecting humanity was the best decision they could have made, or the worst. The distress signal came in unencrypted and raw. No proper formatting. No diplomatic courtesy. Just pure desperation bleeding through the static. "This is Kepler Station. We are under attack. The Zarkon have launched an assault. Request immediate assistance. We have civilians. We have children. Please respond." The signal repeated 3 times. Then it went silent. In the command center on Earth. Nicole Harrison heard the message first. She was a communication officer, and she had been trained to receive all kinds of signals. But this one made her blood run cold. Kepler Station was neutral territory. It was not under any nation's control. It was a research facility where scientists from multiple species gathered to study the universe together. Over 10,000 souls worked there. Families. Children. Nicole immediately routed the signal to Commander Daniel Hayes. She did not wait for authorization. Some things did not require waiting. Hayes was in his office when the signal came through. He listened to it once. Then he listened to it again. Then he listened to it a 3rd time. He did not need to listen to it a 4th time. He understood the situation perfectly. Kepler Station was under attack. Earth had been banished from the Council only 3 months ago. The Galactic Council had specifically requested that Earth remain neutral during any conflicts outside of Council space. This was a test. Everyone knew it. The Zarkon had launched this attack at exactly this moment because they knew Earth was in a vulnerable position. The Council had no intention of helping. The Council wanted to see if humanity would follow the rules or break them. Hayes stood and left his office. He walked directly to the main command chamber. Every eye in the room turned to him when he entered. "Kepler Station is under attack," he said simply. "Zarkon assault. They have 10,000 civilians, including families and children. They are requesting assistance." The room was completely quiet. Everyone understood what was being asked of them without Hayes saying it directly. If Earth responded, they would be breaking the neutrality agreement. The Council would use it as proof that Earth could not be trusted. The Council would use it to justify the banishment further. They would use it to unite all the galactic species against humanity even more firmly. If Earth did not respond, 300 children would die. 10,000 innocent people would die. Hayes did not ask for opinions. He did not call for debate. He turned to his communications officer, a woman named Nicole Harrison. "Transmit our course and intentions to the Council," he said. "I want them to know exactly what we are doing and why we are doing it. Do not hide this. Do not be diplomatic. Tell them we are responding to a distress call and we are bringing everyone home." "Yes, sir," Nicole said. Her hands moved across the console. The message was sent across the galactic network in seconds. "Get me every military vessel we have," Hayes continued. "I do not care where they are. Recall them, now." The orders spread through Earth's military infrastructure like lightning. Ships that were on patrol turned toward the coordinates of Kepler Station. Ships that were in dock were given emergency launch protocols. Pilots who were off duty were called back to their vessels. The operation was not subtle. It was not hidden. The entire galaxy would know that Earth was mobilizing for war. President Marcus Cross received word of Hayes' decision within minutes. He did not countermand the order. He supported it. In every nation on Earth, when the news broke that Kepler Station was under attack, the response was the same. Humanity did not hesitate. Humanity did not debate. Humanity moved. In the orbital shipyards, workers who had been building supply vessels suddenly found themselves being asked to arm those vessels. The modifications were made quickly. Not perfectly, but quickly. Within 6 hours, 30 transport ships had been converted to combat configuration. It was not elegant work, but it was work that needed to be done. The journey to Kepler Station would take 2 days. 2 days of travel at maximum speed. Hayes knew that every hour that passed, more people at Kepler Station were dying. The Zarkin were not known for mercy. They were known for conquest and cruelty. As the ships moved through space, Hayes received communication from the Galactic Council. The message was formal and clear. They were reminding him that Earth was banished territory. Earth was not a member of the Council. Earth has no authority to take military action in Council space. If Earth attacked the Zarkin, Earth would be attacking a Council-adjacent power. The consequences would be severe. Hayes did not respond to that message. He had already told the Council what he was going to do. There was nothing more to say. On the second day of travel, the communications from Kepler Station became sporadic. At first, there were regular updates on the station's condition and casualties. Then the updates became less frequent. Then there was nothing but silence. Hayes knew what the silence meant. It meant the station's defenses were failing. It meant the situation was becoming critical. He pushed the fleet to go faster, even though they were already at the edge of what the ships could handle. "I want everything running at 110% capacity," he ordered. "I do not care if we burn out the engines. We need to get there now." The fleet cut through space like a knife blade. Behind them, on Earth, every government issued the same message to their people. Earth was going to war. Not a large war. Not a war against the Council or against the galactic community. A war of rescue. A war to bring home people who needed help. In homes and schools and offices across Earth, humans understood what was happening. They understood that their species was being tested. They understood that the Council was watching. They understood that if they failed, the Council would use it as proof that banishing humanity had been the right choice. But they also understood something the Council did not expect. Humans did not respond to pressure by breaking. Humans responded to pressure by becoming harder. The fleet arrived at Kepler Station after 38 hours of travel. The station was under siege. The Zarkin assault forces had breached the outer defenses. The station was taking heavy fire. And in the dock bays, thousands of civilians were trying desperately to reach the evacuation ships that were no longer coming. Commander Hayes did not hesitate. He did not wait for backup. He did not negotiate. He saw a problem, and he moved to solve it. The first human ships emerged from jump space firing. The Zarkin had not expected them. They had not expected anyone to come this quickly. They certainly had not expected Earth to come. The battle for Kepler Station had begun. Commander Daniel Hayes sat in the command chair of the flagship, a vessel called the Independence. Around him, his crew worked with mechanical precision. Every movement had been trained and retrained 1,000 times. Every response was immediate and automatic. This was what discipline looked like. This was what humanity had learned to do. The Zarkin fleet was 3 times larger than humanity's response force. That was a problem, but not an unsolvable one. Hayes had faced worse odds before. Not in space, perhaps, but humanity had always been good at fighting from disadvantaged positions. Status report, he ordered. 10 Zarkan battleships, his tactical officer said. 30 escort vessels. They are concentrating their fire on the station's defenses. The station is losing hull integrity. Shields are at 30%. What about civilian evacuation? Hayes asked. Evacuation bays are operational. But we are not seeing large numbers of people evacuating. The Zarkan assault may have blocked the main escape routes. Civilians may be trapped in the lower levels. That was worse. That meant the civilians would not be able to reach the evacuation ships without help from inside the station. That meant somebody would have to go in there and bring them out. Send a message to all evacuation vessels, Hayes said. Begin moving away from the station. Do not wait for more civilians. Launch now and keep moving towards safety. Once we get them away from the combat zone, they will be safe. His communications officer, Jennifer Mills, looked at him with surprise. Sir, there are still civilians on the station. If we start evacuation now, we abandon them. No, Hayes said. We do not abandon them. We evacuate the people we have and give them time to escape while we buy time for the rest. Transmit that order. The evacuation ships began moving away from the station, loaded with the civilians who had managed to reach the docking bays. They were full, but they were not completely full. There were gaps. There were empty seats. Those empty seats represented people still trapped on the station. Hayes began moving his fleet into position. The human ships took up defensive positions around Kepler Station. They placed themselves between the station and the Zarkan forces. This was a classic tactic, but it was effective. The Zarkan would have to go through the human fleet to reach the station. All weapons systems online, his weapons officer reported. Targeting solutions calculated for all Zarkan vessels. Do not fire yet, Hayes said. Wait for my command. The Zarkan commander broadcast a message. His voice was harsh and contemptuous. Human vessel, you are in violation of council space. You have no authority here. Withdraw immediately or be destroyed. Hayes did not respond to the insult. He responded to the threat. Fire, he said simply. The battle erupted in violence and chaos. Human weapons found their targets. The Zarkan ships were more powerful individually, but the human fleet was better coordinated. Every ship knew exactly what the others were doing. Every captain had trained with the others. The fleet moved as a single organism, adjusting and adapting to each new threat. On Kepler Station, inside the lower levels, a woman named Amanda Reeves was a pilot. She had been at the station attending a conference on deep space navigation. When the attack began, she had done what any human would do. She had looked for children first. There were 47 children trapped in the education wing. The main evacuation routes had been blocked by Zarkan forces. The emergency exits were sealed because of the damage to the station systems. They were trapped, and the time before the entire section of the station, depressurized, was measured in minutes. Amanda found a maintenance tunnel. It was small and difficult to navigate, but it led toward the docking bays. She began leading the children through it. They were scared, but they followed her. Children were good at following. Adults had taught them to trust authority, and Amanda was the adult in this situation. Above them, in space, the battle raged on. Amanda did not know about the battle. She only knew that she had 47 children and a maintenance tunnel that seemed to go on forever. One of the children, a boy about 8 years old, began to cry. Amanda knelt beside him and looked him in the face. She did not tell him it would be okay. That would be a lie. She did not comfort him with soft words. Listen to me, she said. Your name is what? Timothy, the boy said. Timothy, I need you to be strong right now. Not because you feel brave. You do not feel brave, I know. You feel scared. but I'm going to tell you something true. The strongest thing a person can do is move forward when they are scared. You understand? Timothy nodded slowly. Then we're going to be strong together. You are going to follow me. You are not going to think about being scared. You are going to think about putting one foot in front of the other. Can you do that? Yes, Timothy said. Amanda stood and began moving again. The children followed. Above them, inside the docking bay, a pilot named Christopher Okonkwo was trying to figure out how to get a cargo ship operational when the hangar bay was in partial vacuum. The Zarkin had blown a hole in the outer wall. Air was leaking out. The pressure was dropping. The cargo ship's bay doors would not seal properly. Christopher did not waste time worrying about the problem. He started solving it. He rerouted the pressure systems. He sealed the inner doors. He brought the ship online and ran the launch sequence. The ship could fly, barely, but it could fly. Get anyone you see toward the bay, he ordered his crew. We are launching in 5 minutes. His co-pilot, a woman named Susan Torres, began running toward the corridors. She started pulling people toward the ship. Civilians, engineers, scientists, anyone who could be reached. The battle above continued. Hayes had lost 3 ships. 37 people killed in action. The Zarkin had lost 5 ships. But the Zarkin kept coming. They had numbers on their side. Eventually, numbers would matter. All personnel on the station. This is Hayes, he broadcast. All evacuation routes are closing in 4 minutes. If you can hear this, move toward the nearest docking bay now. 4 minutes. That is all the time we have. Amanda heard the message. She was still 2 corridors away from the docking bay. She increased pace. The children moved with her, exhausted and terrified, but moving. Christopher heard the message. He had 23 people in the cargo ship. He had room for at least 10 more. 2 minutes, he said. We launch in 2 minutes. Amanda reached the docking bay with 4 children already in the corridor behind her. There was a ship. There was hope. She threw the 47 children toward the cargo bay and began running toward it herself. Get inside, Christopher ordered. Get inside now. The cargo ship closed its bay doors just as the hangar began to depressurize completely. The outer wall was collapsing, but the ship was sealed. Everyone inside was safe. Christopher launched the ship immediately. He did not wait to see if anyone else was coming. There was no one else left. He had brought out the people he could reach. That was what mattered. Above them, Hayes saw all the evacuation ships clearing the station. The civilian evacuation was complete. Now he could stop playing defense. All ships moved to aggressive formation, he ordered. I want everything we have on those Zarkin battleships. Now. The human fleet stopped defending and started attacking. The Zarkin forces recoiled. They had expected resistance, but not this kind of coordinated assault. The human ships were older, less advanced, but they were being piloted by people who understood what was at stake. One by one, the Zarkin ships began to retreat. After 4 hours of continuous combat, the last Zarkin vessel jumped to hyperspace. They were leaving. The assault was over. Hayes checked his casualty reports. 53 people killed. Another 120 wounded. But the station was saved. 10,000 civilians were being evacuated. The children were safe. All ships, stand down weapons, he ordered. Begin rescue and recovery operations. We have people in the water, and we are bringing them home. The human fleet moved into recovery mode. Ships began searching for lifeboats and escape pods. Medical vessels moved into position to treat the wounded. The discipline and precision that humans had brought to combat, they now brought to saving lives. In the hours that followed, every person who could be saved was saved. Every wounded person who could be treated was treated. The human fleet did not leave until they were certain that no one was left behind. No one. Not one single person. When it was finally over, when the last survivor had been brought aboard a human ship, Commander Daniel Hayes sat in his command chair and allowed himself one moment of weakness. He closed his eyes. His crew knew better than to disturb him. They simply waited. After 30 seconds, he opened his eyes again. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," he said. "Tell them we saved 10,000 civilians from the Zarkan assault. Tell them that we lost 53 of our people doing it. And tell them that we would do it again, regardless of whether the Council approved or not." Jennifer Mills transmitted the message across the galactic network. Every species heard it. Every species understood what it meant. Humanity had just shown the galaxy what they really were. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was called within hours of Hayes's message reaching the network. Every species sent their highest representatives. The chamber was packed with delegates who had never imagined they would see this moment. The vote to banish Earth was being challenged by Earth's own actions. The recording of the battle played on every screen in the chamber. The Zarkan assault on Kepler Station. The human response. The rescue operations. The precision. The discipline. The absolute dedication to saving lives even when those lives were not human. But more importantly, the council members watched the casualty count. 53 humans dead. Another 120 wounded. All of it to save 10,000 people who were not human. People who belonged to species that had voted to banish humanity. People who had rejected Earth. The Kelthian delegate who had spoken against Earth at the original trial now sat in stunned silence. He watched human pilots fly their damaged ships to rescue pods in the debris field. He watched human engineers work to restore life support to sections of the station. He watched human doctors work on wounded Vethians and Kelthians and Zarkan prisoners of war. How did they organize this response so quickly? The Vethian delegate asked. There was something new in his voice. Not fear anymore. Confusion, perhaps. Confusion that something they had feared could do something so good. They had already prepared for it, a voice said from the entrance to the chamber. Every head turned. Commander Daniel Hayes stood in the doorway. His uniform was torn and stained with blood. His face was bruised. One arm was bandaged. He had not come to the council chamber by invitation. He had come of his own accord. Humanity has always prepared for disaster, Hayes continued, walking into the chamber. We learned that on Earth. We learned it from 50,000 years of fighting to survive on a death world. When you rejected us, you did not reject a threat. You rejected the only species that would bleed for strangers when given the chance. You have no standing here, the Kelthian delegate said. His voice was harder now, but it had lost its confidence. You are banished. You should not have launched warships into council space. You have violated every protocol. You are right, Hayes said. He did not argue. He did not make excuses. We violated the protocol. We did it intentionally. And we would do it again. That is what you need to understand about humanity. He stopped in the center of the chamber. Every eye was on him. When you decided to fear us, you made a mistake. But not because we are weak or peaceful or no threat to your community. You made a mistake because you misunderstood what makes us a threat. You thought we were a threat because we are aggressive. You thought we were a threat because we are competitive. You thought we were a threat because we come from a death world and we have learned to fight. Hayes paused. He looked at each delegate in turn. 173 faces looking at him. But that is not what makes us a threat, he said. What makes us a threat is our capacity for compassion. What makes us a threat is our willingness to sacrifice everything for people we have never met. What makes us a threat is that we will fight harder, work longer, bleed more, and give more. for the defense of the innocent than any other species in this galaxy. We are a threat because we choose to be, not because we have to be. We choose. The chamber was completely silent. Earth requests to rejoin the Galactic Council, Hayes said. But not on the terms that you offered before. Not on the terms that you thought would control us. What terms do you propose? A voice asked. It was the Zarkan delegate, the enemy that had attacked Kepler Station. He was still alive, still here, because the humans had chosen to save him. Humanity will rejoin this council, Hayes said. We will contribute our resources. We will contribute our strength. We will contribute our fleet and our technology and our people. But we will do so with one clear purpose. We will be the species that stands between this galaxy and those who would prey on the innocent. We will be the ones who answer the distress calls that others ignore. We will be the ones who stand guard in the darkness. He stepped forward, closer to the council table. Your greatest fear was that humanity was a threat to your peace, Hayes continued. But you were wrong about which peace we threatened. We do not threaten your comfort. We threaten the predators who would feed on this galaxy. We threaten those who would attack research stations and kill children. We threaten the forces of darkness and conquest. The Vethian delegate leaned forward. And if we accept your terms, if we invite Earth back, what guarantee do we have that you will not betray us? No guarantees, Hayes said. You will have to decide to trust us. Just like we had to decide to trust you when you rejected us. Just like those 10,000 civilians had to trust that we would come for them, even though they were not human and not our responsibility. He turned to leave, but then he stopped. One more thing, he said. I want to be clear about something. We did not save Kepler Station because you ordered us to. We did not risk our lives because it was convenient or profitable. We did not answer that distress call because it served our interests. We answered that call because people were suffering and we could help. That is not a weakness in humanity. That is our strength. And you were all fools for thinking it was a threat. Hayes left the chamber before anyone could respond. The council did not vote immediately. Instead, they took 2 days to analyze every piece of data from the rescue operation. They watched the battle strategies. They studied the humanitarian response. They interviewed the survivors, both human and non-human. The survivors told the same story over and over. The humans had come. The humans had fought. The humans had saved people who were not their own. The humans had not asked for gratitude or payment or political favors. They had simply done what needed to be done. On the 3rd day, the vote was called. This time, it would not be about whether Earth should be banished. It would be about whether Earth should be invited back. The vote was not unanimous. It was 172 to 1. Only the Zarkan delegate voted against Earth's return. Even the Kelthian delegate voted in favor. Even those who had feared humanity, most found that they could not deny the evidence of what humanity had shown them. The message was sent to Earth within the hour. Humanity was invited to rejoin the Galactic Council. Commander Daniel Hayes received the news in his quarters aboard the Independence. He read the message once. Then he deleted it. He did not need official invitation. He did not need permission. Earth would return to the Council because it was right to do so. Not because the Council asked, but because humanity had chosen to, on Earth. The news was received with something between relief and resignation. Humanity had proven their point. They had shown what they were capable of. They had demonstrated that when it mattered most, humanity chose compassion over conquest, chose to save lives over to take them. The galaxy would never again question whether humans belonged among the stars. They belonged. But more than that, the galaxy learned that they needed humans. They needed the species that would stand in the darkness. They needed the species that would answer the call. And they had been very close to losing them. Years later, Historians would point to the attack on Kepler Station as the moment everything changed. The moment when humanity stopped being a species trying to prove itself. The moment when the galaxy stopped being afraid of Earth and started being grateful that Earth existed. But nobody ever said it. Not directly. It was understood in actions and choices, and the simple fact that when danger came to the galaxy, humanity answered first. Commander Hayes never spoke about the banishment again. He moved on to new challenges, new campaigns, new chances to protect those who could not protect themselves. That was what humans did, and the galaxy learned to respect that, even to depend on it. That was what truly made humanity exceptional.